He's up late to give you the news you can't get anywhere else early. He fights for truth and justice and the American way. Please welcome our pal from the Paragon Trust Company, the real Tony D. Tony D'Angelo.
Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The great Tony D'Angelo joins us right on time each and every Tuesday morning, bright and early, to talk about, well, sometimes we talk about things that nobody else wants to talk about. You can find him up on the X at Tony D'Angelo 7 and, of course, his own YouTube page. Tony, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Lee Elci. Good morning, everyone, and proud to be among you.
All right, so we're going to talk about something with the shooting that nobody else is talking about.
To my knowledge, and, again, good morning. And this is one of those things that I was starting to look at in my rare moments of spirituality. I started to study the concept of authority last night in the Bible. And, it's laid out very clearly as to God is the authority. God puts laws into motions. We have the law of gravity. We have the law of lift. We have the law of the tides. We have the law of the seasons. And no one, at least to my knowledge, in this crazy world has called any of that racist or homophobic or anything like that. But when we start to get away from authority and we start to say, oh, I'm just not going to do that, then, if you are a Christian person, you're really kind of walking out, or just if you're a person, you're really kind of walking out from God's umbrella. And I mean, this is the whole thing. And as far as authority, that goes for the people in authority too. As far as, bad cops, bad politicians, bad administrators, it goes right across the board. Again, if you're if you read your Bible tells you that God is not a respecter of persons. But that all said, and we can go back and forth. I mean, I'm still assimilating what happened here. I mean, personally, I think this woman just acted like a jerk. I think the officer, the ICE officer in charge, was concerned about the other people on his team. Like, what if she went down the road and started mowing down his colleagues? She certainly gave that impression. We're going to have a lot of discussion on that. But what gets me here was, if you look at the timing, Dan from East Hampton had alluded to this yesterday, which I'm sure he would have developed it more time being there. The timing of this event is so propitious, where within 3 hours, Tim Walz and Keith Ellison and all these people in Minneapolis, they go from the doghouse to the penthouse, like bang. I was doing a little timelining last night. If you look at this, these are Central Times. Now, she starts down the road. Good starts down the road at the time that the hearing is being gavelled in. At 9:30, just when the witnesses are starting to speak, she starts her crazy act. And then it's like, just as all this is happening, as the hearing heats up, all the crazy stuff starts happening. And I mean, this is all it's curious. I'm not saying that there's anything deliberately involved, but it has me wondering, because this is almost like you're watching the ending scene of Godfather 1. And there's the baptism, and Michael Corleone and Kay are baptizing the baby. And meanwhile, they're wiping out Las Vegas. And I'm just saying to myself, and then after that, please don't let me go over this. You see this term being tossed around by many people on Twitter, many government people, many people, and 157 members of Congress called. She was a legal observer. Now, legal observer is a very arcane term that really gets very little use. And it's like they come out within 2 hours, and, and if you look at the tweets, legal observer, legal observer, legal observer, it's like, something here looks really, really weird. And when you look at Tim Walz, and this is the whole thing, Jan and I were having this discussion, again, not to be super spiritual or anything like that, but if you are a Christian person, you are taught, if you're taught correctly, that the devil is really a counterfeit of God. And guess what? The devil can answer some prayers. The devil can cause resurrection. This man had a satanic resurrection. He was off to the gallows practically, but within 3 hours, it's over. And I mean, I think there's more here than meets the eye. I can't prove it exactly, but I want people to keep their eyes and ears open because, man, this just looks very strange to me.
I'm sorry. So you're saying that this was either opportunity and they seized on it, or it was a conspiracy to
had
cause
to be
it?
the biggest attack of dumb luck ever, or it was orchestrated in such a way where, stop the machine in the place where it's happening at the time when the hearing. It's too close for comfort for me.
Okay, Tony D'Angelo, his thoughts on the shooting and the surrounding sort of.
I might be nuts.
What's
I might be nuts.
Listen, we've had stranger conspiracies that ended up coming true, so you know that as well as I do. All right, I know that was one thing you wanted to get into, but you also really wanted to spend a lot of time.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, for the I've been studying with interest the child care situation in Connecticut. A little bit of background. The primary program is something called Care for Kids, administered by the Connecticut Office of Early Childhood, and it's funded by the Federal Child Care and Development Fund, and it has expanded access, and there are block grants, and then the Early Childhood Education Endowment is funded by with the goal of creating approximately 16,000 new preschool and infant toddler childcare spaces by 2030. And I started to look at this, and it's like, because one of the things we have learned is that if something happens in a blue state, guess what? It's probably happening in yours, maybe not exactly in the same way. And I started to drill at the database. Now, there's publicly available databases, and what amazes me is that, to my knowledge, no bureaucrat, no official, no police officer has started to look at, quote unquote, what the hell is happening with the numbers? What is happening with the dollars? Now, when I did this and I, went around and started to, organize things, this is what we're seeing in Connecticut. Now, again, we do not have a large Somali population, so our situation is different based upon the population of the state. But these are some of the things that are evident like evident hit you in the head evident if you look at the database. You look in cities, Waterbury, Bridgeport, New Haven, and you'll see clusters. You'll see anywhere it's between 20 and 50 providers all within a square mile. Now, think a small downtown area, couple of streets. You've got 20 or 50 providers. I mean, that's like dozens of in-home daycares on the same few blocks, all licensed for up to 9 kids each. And there's no cross verifications. We'll get into that in a moment. 4 providers share the exact same apartment building, different floors or unit. Now, what you see very clearly, again, I can talk about, gee, that looks weird with Tim Walz, and this is like to the ground real. There is a high concentration of Hispanics in these areas, greater than the population of Hispanics in a given area. For example, Waterbury, 58% of providers have Hispanic sounding names. The population of Hispanics in Waterbury is 38%. West Haven, 49%. The city's only 26% Hispanic. Bridgeport and New Haven are kind of balanced, but you read down the names of the providers. Now, again, you've got these clusters. And what do you see? Rodriguez, Martinez, Hernandez, Reyes, Garcia, Lopez, Sanchez, Torres, Ortiz, Perez, Rivera, Gonzalez, Diaz, Cruz, Santos, Vargas, Morales, on and on and on it goes. Now, the other thing you're seeing is, again, this is like me studying data, okay? This is, one dumb guy with a spreadsheet. Hispanics are making up 40% of the food stamp recipients, but they're 19% of the population. That's kind of interesting to me. More than double. Now, the similar things are showing up in childcare. Now, you have a situation of multiple providers. 10 addresses have 2 or more providers. One building in New Britain has 4. Now, there's a known fraud case. One Hartford provider has $127,000 in subsidies. She's still in business. Nothing happened. And the way this thing is set up, providers have 40% of their licensed spots unfilled, but under the old rules that supposedly have changed, they get subsidies anyway. That's like an additional $36,000 to $40,000 a year. And when you look at the money, 450 to 500 million a year in public funding goes to childcare. The amount increases. There's no cross checks. There's no, anything with that. And the thing that really gets me here is I am not at all anti-Hispanic. That's not the issue. But what you're seeing very clearly is a conglomeration of largely one ethnicity getting a disproportionate amount of dollars, more money going in. So the question is, where does it go out? Does it go out to Act Blue? Well, I haven't really established that yet, but it's certainly going into programs. It's certainly going into bureaucratic hires. It's certainly going into quote unquote feel good. And I mean, it's a very clever way to work this thing, where you've got a great advantage here if you just, and again, there's, it's your typical Connecticut bureaucracy. There's no cross checks. I mean, if 9 providers show up, and I mean, how many Juan Hernandezes could there be? Oh, well, they're all different. Oh, they're all the same. They don't check to a database. I mean, this is the thing, and we'll talk about the fixes that are very easy to do. But this strikes me as being, extremely curious, but it's a concentration in those areas, and it's a constant dollar flow with an increase. The fundamental thing, if you're driving in the car, the amount of resources going to a certain area is far greater than the amount of use that could possibly be in that area.
So what's the breakdown? I'm just a general question, just for my own self.
Sure.
Do you know the general breakdown of the demographics of who gets these payouts, Tony?
Well, if you go back to the statistics as far as what's there, it is heavily tilted to Hispanic and Hispanic areas. Now, I'm sure that, the ethnicities of all people are not just concentrated to Hispanics needing daycare. For example, Waterbury, 58% of providers have Hispanic names, where really the population is 38%. It just doesn't balance to the numbers. It just doesn't follow an established pattern. If you're going to have something that is a distribution that's a benefit to all people, what you've been saying, ever since time immemorial, ever since I've known you, our racial makeup or ethnic makeup in any sort of an occupation should follow that of the population. This is like incredibly skewed to be beyond belief.
Tony D'Angelo with us, Tony D'Angelo 7 on the X. All right, so what do we, how do we move forward with this? Do we investigate? What's the next step on
Well,
this?
These are the things that get really irritating as far as what could one do. There's some apps you could have, Brightwheel, and every day you've got to prove your fact that you are actually in these daycares, that you're actually taking care of these kids. There's none of that. I mean, basically, this is a money wheel. This is a way of getting dollars somewhere, probably programmatically for increasing programs, buying of votes. Is there a massive laundering going on offshore? I don't see that as of yet, but yet you can do a lot with that. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I just don't see it as it yet. Now, another simple fix, right? You can limit things. Again, you've got slots all over the places, where you've got capacities of 9 in very tight areas. Why not have like one provider for a multifamily building, as far as no more 4-in-1 apartment? I mean, doesn't that like reek of, hey, there's something terribly wrong here? I mean, how many kids could there be? Another thing is this whole family thing. It's as far as like, for example, grandma's doing it. It's they can milk this thing till the cows come home. And then listen, I can do it on a spreadsheet. I think our state, with a lot more mechanized resources than I do, can do it. Link the applications to databases. You run 2 tables. I do it all the time. I do it for my work. Link birth certificates with vital records. Limit the relatives as paid providers. Now, the other thing is look at the patterns. why aren't people going to these areas and saying, well, we got 9 slots here within 1 square block. How many of these things are being utilized? Well, no, Elci, it ain't hard. And these are the things that really become very irritating, where I think we get a lot of pontification of, gee, something's very strange. Well, what are you going to do to fix the strangeness? Because this will get bigger, more of it will go in. And I mean, you talk about money, we hear Republicans come on the show, talk about, well, we need money to run our campaigns. I mean, this is like one huge captive money machine, basically, because when you start, however the dollars go, what do you think? Where do you think these people are going to vote? I mean, they see money. I mean, they see a river and they see how they're working it, and there is no, quote unquote, for lack of a better term, administrative state or bureaucratic enforcement. I mean, that's how I'm seeing it here now. As far as, does this money go? Does it get wired and all that? Yeah, it probably does. It probably goes, to people that, quote unquote, have nothing to do with a child care need in Connecticut. But I mean, this is really, and you're putting more into it, and you've got these deficiencies. Only Connecticut could do something like this, frankly. That's just a couple.
So, early this morning I saw and I'm just going to make this political for a second. Early this morning I saw where 45% of the people out there now identify as unidentified, or if you will, unaffiliated. And I'm looking, as you're talking about some of these subsidy programs, I just did a quick search, just off the top of my head. These are just some of the programs that Connecticut residents pay for. Connecticut Energy Assistance, load management, renewable energy, systems benefit charge, state administered general assistance, state supplement cash advance, which I don't even know what that is, earned income tax credit, child care assistance program, Connecticut baby bond, student loan reimbursement programs, and on and on and on and on and on. I'm thinking to myself, as we have talked about, Tony, at length, where is the end in this? Because, it's the people who are listening to us right now, the American middle class, they pay for all of this. And where does it stop? I'm sorry.
Well, where does it only ends when you end it, basically. And I mean, if a goof like me can sit with a spreadsheet on a Wednesday afternoon and figure out and this is all there. I mean, I can show it to you. This is not, this is not some deep, dark thing that I had to pay a great bribe for. If I can do it, where the hell's the state?
Right.
But I mean, where's
you're pointing out potential grift in this, right? In our little backyard, we know about the Somali grift that is going on.
Right.
I mean, all of these different programs, I can only imagine how much money is being siphoned off this. Now, again, maybe most of these are well-intentioned. I'm sure they're all well-intentioned in the beginning. But, like anything else, it gets corrupted as it goes, and there's no oversight. And they just keep squeezing, and it's one program after another, after another, after another. And then you look at your check, and 50% of it is gone before you get a chance to spend 1 cent. It's completely unfair. And what I'm sort of making a point of right here, Tony, is that it's time for the people of this state to wake up. I mean, wake up and let's do something about this. We don't want to turn our back on people that are less fortunate, but I also don't want to turn our back on the people who actually go out there and work every single day.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, if you look at the funding, as far as the amount of bulbous funding in the last 3 years that has increased, and the only thing I've really seen from Republicans is a couple of things. Gee, this is something that doesn't look right, and we've, of course, it's another thing that the Democratic administrative state is doing. But it's like, guys, you got to talk about how you're going to fix it. And how you're going to fix it is just like the 4 or 5 things I mentioned, or maybe a couple of others. And why? And again, to your point, Lee, Elci, if we really have a child care need and we have people needing assistance in child care on a need-based basis, those resources should not be concentrated within square block areas in Waterbury and Meriden, whatever, and all within a certain ethnic class of surname. I mean, this is Bank Trust 101. This is dumb stuff, and the state isn't doing it.
Yeah, I don't want to turn the attention away from that because you make a great point. I was just talking about the 30,000.
Absolutely right.
All right, what did we miss, Tony? What do you got Thursday?
I have no idea. I am so unprepared. I'm horrible. They ought to throw me off the air, but we're gonna have some fun.
And where can they find that? Just remind everybody.
Yeah, 30 with Tony, 3, Twitter and YouTube. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on X. And just go to write out 30 with Tony, the word 30, and you go right to my channel, and you can see the current show and past shows.
All right, brother. Have a good day. Appreciate you, man. Tony
Thank you, you too.
All right, we'll come right back, everybody. Flax joins us next. Hang on.